All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are not as early as I like to be to give people time to get in, but we will still give about a minute or so for that to happen. Technology is always just absolutely spectacular, which is a sarcastic statement, of course. If you hear my fan in the background, it's because it's that time of year. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the spring in the South, which means summer, basically. So we'll give it about a minute. Sending out that notification, letting people know we up in here. We up in here. All right, again, we'll start in a few seconds here. You hear my fan in the background. It's a little on the warm side. We got to have a little something blowing around this place. keep from cooking in here. Keep from cooking. Now, what's so fascinating is I've been doing these Thursdays for quite a little while now, and I love somebody messages me usually when I'm doing this, so I'm gonna expedite that as well. Keep that off the screen. We'll kick off in a second. Hey, sorry about that. That's what we want. All right. I'm just putting something up here. All right. I'll post this later, but I wanted to give a official definition, which is always very touchy. We talk about official because each source has its own way of crafting it. But I think this one will give us some idea. This is from ethicsunwrapped University of Texas.ed. And typically this is pretty official when it's coming from an education source. Moral relativism is the idea that there is no universal or absolute set of moral principles. Okay? It is a version of morality that advocates to each her own, or of course his own. I'm not going to read the article, but I just want to get into this a little bit so that you have something that is got some teeth to it. Okay? Again, moral relativism is the idea that there is no universal or absolute set of moral principles. It's a version of morality that advocates to each her or his own, and those who follow it say, who am I to judge? Who am I to judge? Okay? And that should sound familiar because that is what was in our write-up for this particular week's broadcast. All right? Now, I'm going to go to my write-up because I want to make sure I pull some of that forward as well. I'll post this article. Let me get that together here. All right. So this is what I put. Moral relativism. The time has come to answer this question. Should we all have our own truth to live? We know a popular phrase these days is live your own truth. Okay? So that's one of the questions. Should we all have our own truth to live? How about this one? Should we really do what feels right to us individually? Should we? Again, if we're living our own truth, living our own truth means ultimately doing what we feel is right. Feel is right. Here's another one. If everyone gets to determine what is good or morally correct or right to them, what do we do about evil or wrong? Which is where I really want to make sure we get to. I really want to make sure we get to. I really want to make sure. Now, if you just kind of work through my experiment that I gave you, the experiment was, and I love to hear your thoughts as we go through this. Here's the experiment I gave you. It was in preparation for the discussion. Here's a thought experiment. Think of the most evil thing, right? The thing that you consider to be the most evilest thing, and then that you just can't stand. You feel like it should never happen. You hate whenever it happens, or you hear it happens, or you hate knowing that it happens. And then, obviously, it's what you consider to be morally incorrect. Okay? Then I want you to imagine that there is someone or some group out there in 7 billion, nearly 8 billion people who could explain it. Somebody out there who could potentially, what we call explain away, who can actually make it sound correct. Who can actually make it sound right or good. See how those terms are working here? All right, now we rolling. So I want us to talk about that tonight. Now, I'm going to assume, I think this is a pretty safe assumption, that most people are going to have something of morals where they have something that they believe is absolutely wrong. I'm going to assume that most people, a religious right, whatever the case may be, they're going to say, yes, Gabe, I absolutely believe that this here is wrong. Absolutely, right? I'm not sure why it's not showing me my broadcast, so let's go see if we can find it. Anyway, so most people do. Most people, even the people who you would think would be people who are amoral, which means have no morals at all. They're not for it or against it. They're simply non-moral. They believe no morals exist. But if you probe them long enough, they would think something is wrong. They would think something, right? Some kind of thing has to be wrong. That's what they would think. There's no way that they would not think that. So that being said, we're working on the premise that most people think that there is something wrong, something immoral, something evil. Even if we don't agree or they don't agree with us, I want to get all the way down to the foundations, right? We believe something, because if we don't, then this is not going to be a broadcast for you. I'm just being honest. But if you believe that there is something, and I put that article up if you'd like to take a look at it at your leisure. But if you believe that there is something, if you believe that there is one thing wrong, one thing evil, then this conversation is for you. Because here's what I want us to immediately get right into. Like, let's not even avoid it. If you believe that something is wrong, my first question to you, to me, is what's the basis? What's the basis of that belief that something is wrong? Whatever it may be, because you're a Christian, it doesn't bother me. At this point, what do you base, and if you're watching this back on my YouTube channel, same question to you. What are you basing what you classify that one thing or that host of things to be wrong? Because immediately, you know me, I don't waste no time. Immediately, what we have to understand and recognize, once we start talking about morals, once we start talking about morality, we are talking about something that we believe has a foundation. See, you didn't even think about that, did you? You raised your children, you told them, oh, don't do that, that's wrong. Don't do this, this is wrong. Do that, that's the right thing to do. That's the right thing, that's the wrong thing. But most of us, now my son is 11, but most of us never stop to realize that if we're saying that there is some kind of standard of right and wrong, if we're saying that there are rules about evil and good, we're saying that on the assumption that there is a standard. I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to get in trouble in a few minutes. And we're saying that under the assumption that the person we may be saying that to agrees not only with our description of what is right and wrong, but with our standard. Got you. Oh, you don't think I got you? Watch this. So most people, let me go to something that I think generally most people would agree with. Most people would agree that child molestation is wrong. Most. I'm hoping all, but I think I might be able to prove myself wrong. So I say most, because I've lived long enough, unfortunately, to realize that countries, for example, have different views of what childhood is. I'm gonna let it sink in. Gabe, I ain't gonna watch the book. No, stay with me. Don't leave me. Stay with me. See, I went for the jugular. I'm not gonna waste no time. I got an 11-year-old son 15 feet away from me. I'm going for the jugular right away. Why even waste time? Most people, we think of the 7 billion people alive, would say that molestation is wrong. But here's the question I have for you. On what basis do you call molestation wrong? Here's another question. What's the standard for your definition of molestation? Yeah. Now, obviously, I have an 11-year-old son. Obviously, you would think that I agree with that. And I do. But let's just get real. What's the basis of my standard for calling something molestation? What's the basis of my standard for saying that somebody going at my son in a sexual way is molestation and therefore evil and therefore wrong and punishable by law? What's my basis? See, this is a question for all of us. You remember, Thursday nights are about making us think. While you're upset and up in arms, I'm with you. If anybody knows me, you know I picked a particular one that's very, very, very hard for me. But I realized I got to face this matter just like everyone else. So I went for the jugular for me. Because child molestation is one of those things that I have to really work on controlling myself. Because I've said to people, if something happens to my son, I might find myself in jail. I'm just saying. So understand, this one is a tough one for me. And while I would like to think, once again, that everybody holds a same view, but what's the standard on which we base our definition of child molestation? Now, I could go look it up on Google and go find an official article from some kind of criminal justice pamphlet, and I could read that to you, and you might go, okay, I agree or disagree. But here's the thing. Are you ready? You ready? I'm gonna get in trouble. I'm gonna go deeper. We keep using phrases like common sense. And there's an implication to the phrase common sense. Common sense is based on a common morality. What? Really, Gabe? Yeah. See, when we say common sense, we're also suggesting that there is a common definition of what is right and wrong. When I use the word morality, that's what I'm talking about. Right, wrong, good, evil. We think that everyone has the same definition. We think everyone in the world has the same definition about child molestation. How about this one? How about this one? Harassment. Harassment. Yeah. How about that one? Right? Because when the movement came, and they called it a movement, hey, I didn't define it. Just what? A couple of years ago, a few years ago, Me Too, right? And women felt empowered, and they began to speak up and say, hey, look, my boss on and on and on. These people have been harassing me, have been coming at me with sexual misconduct. And for a good portion of the first several months, one woman after another, and then all of a sudden, watch this, women start getting exposed. And I'm just saying, when women start getting exposed, what I found so interesting, this is just me making an observation, don't get mad at me. What I found so strange is when you start hearing more cases of women and sexual misconduct, all of a sudden the Me Too movement disappeared. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. Anybody? Everybody? Come on, tell me I'm wrong. It's just strange to me. And I am not for any kind of harassment at all, sexual or otherwise. But I thought it was very strange that when women started being exposed, women in high-ranking positions started being exposed, bosses and so on, who were showing dominance, who were expressing their dominance over their male counterparts, when that started coming out, ironically, I could be wrong, maybe I'm convoluting some things together. I stand corrected if I am. It's just strange how the Me Too movement just went away. When we start seeing that there was issues on both sides, that sexual harassment wasn't just what men were doing to women. And make no mistake, men do this to women. Now we have Cuomo, right? Cuomo. Now I'm not saying the man is guilty or innocent. I'm saying he's the latest one in the news. And apparently the Me Too movement didn't stop him. And I get the sneaky suspicion the Me Too movement, I'm just calling it what they called it, hasn't stopped many people. You know why? Because the definition, the foundation for that movement wasn't as germane to everyone, wasn't as common sense to everyone. It wasn't the same. See, the Me Too movement, as far as I remember, started on the basis of male dominance in the workforce. It started with a particular actress, I can't remember her name, saying, look, and of course we know Weinstein and all of them, Bill Cosby, all of this began to just flood our space. It began to flood our eye gates and our ear gates. Famous men who were being, including 45, who were being identified as harassers, as having misconduct. I believe another one of the contributors for this Me Too movement disappearing was the fact that 45 got elected president despite the fact that one woman after another came out against him. I don't think anyone can deny that fact, that women voted for the man, and let's be honest, let's just say it the way it is, I'm not making this up, that white women voted for the man almost 2-1. And that when they were being asked about 45's misbehavior towards women, I heard this with my own ears. They said, well, but who were the ones, and I'm not saying that I didn't agree with the movement, but who were the ones who initiated the Me Too movement in the first place? White women. And white women came out in large numbers and voted for 45. And I believe those two things, even though harassment is wrong in my opinion, on every level, according to my moral standard, that's wrong. But notice, when it became political, it went away. Do you now begin to get the gravity of moral relativism? Are you beginning to understand how serious this subject is? Is it beginning to sink in? I didn't want to waste your time. I wanted to go right for it. I wanted you to understand, while most people, that's right, there should be some morals, some principles. That's right, Gabe, that's right. But notice, oh, you want me to keep going? You don't like those examples? Okay, how about this? How do we explain Black Lives Matter in the context of community when there's black people killing black people. Oh, don't get me wrong. I understood that movement too. I understood it perfectly. I stand with the idea, the concept that my life matters. I've talked about it on Thursdays. But there's no denying the fact that black lives don't always matter to black people. Let me go a little further than just black on black crime. How about the things that we do to ourselves that are hurtful and harmful to ourselves? Did you know we're one of the highest populations in abortion? And if you do your medical research, do your research, that abortion damages a woman's body, that abortions, depending on when you have that abortion, can do more harm to the woman's body. Hey, you don't hear me talking about women don't have a right to choose. Listen to me carefully. Don't let your morals push in on what I'm saying. Listen to me. Isn't it strange that we are, with all due respect, killing more of our babies than any other nationality in the country? And in the state of California, where I'm from, we are outdoing everyone. Black people are outdoing everyone in abortions. And have been for a while. For a long while. And yet, Black Lives Matter. What do you do with that? Well, Gabe, again, I think you're convoluting some things together. All I'm saying is the issue is moral relativism. So on one hand, Black Lives Matter. On one hand, Me Too movement and sexual harassment matters. Unless my vote. Unless I have somebody I'm voting for. Unless I want 45 in there. So yeah, he shouldn't have paid $130,000 to the prostitutes or whatever. He shouldn't have said what he said on the bus talking to the gentleman. Yeah, you really can't walk up to women. You shouldn't do that, Mr. President, and do that to women. But I want you in the office, so I'm willing to overlook it. And because overlooking him, then of course you're going to get Kavanaugh, who did the same thing. But of course you got to overlook him. See what happens with moral relativism? See what happens when we have a sliding scale of good and evil? See what happens when we call something good one day and evil the next day and good the next day and evil the next day, when we are willing to go eventually, as the article said, well, you know what? To each his own. To each his own. Let God be the judge. Oh, I'm going to get all in your stuff tonight. Yeah, tonight. I'm going to get in your stuff. Because you may feel like, Gabe, I'm not a moral relativist. But have you ever said things like this? I don't judge anyone. Let God be the judge. Come on. You ain't got to type an answer, but be honest with yourself. Have you ever said, live your own truth? Have you ever said it? Have you ever thought it? Do you live by those principles? I mind my own business. I'm minding my own business. I don't really care what I see. I don't really care what's going on. Oh, it's a shame. All is evil in the world. But hey, I just do what I do and let everybody. Hey, here's one. Here's an old school one. Live and let live. If you've said any of those statements, you're not going to like me in the next 5 seconds. Because if you've said any one of them, you are a moral relativist. No, Gabe. I can't be a moral relativist because I have a set of morals. I just don't feel like I should push my morals on anyone else. Okay. Let me raise the bar another level. Gabe, really? Yeah, I got some levels tonight. How about this? Did you raise children? Did you raise children? Have you raised children? Are you raising children? Are you teaching your children more than just math and science and wash your butt? Are you teaching them more than just clean your room? Are you telling them to say things like, I'm sorry? That means you are pushing your moral code on other people. Well, Gabe, my children are different. How? How? How are they different? How is your children? Because they're my children. And they have to have morals. Here we are again. We're back to the beginning. So you believe that your moral code is important or was important enough to teach your children. You wanted them to go out into society. Uh-oh, there it is. I think I finally got to it, because that's the issue. We have a society, ladies and gentlemen. We have a society. And if you remember this word from last year, we live in communities. So you can't just have your moral code to yourself, because you live in a community. You live in a community. You have people who live in the house with you. You have people who live outside your apartments, outside your condominiums, outside wherever you live. When you go in the grocery store, now morals kick in. Wait a minute. When you drive your car, yes, there are some ethics in driving your car. Otherwise, you would get people just run you over and you'd run them over. What keeps us, what should keep us from road rage? Morality. Because we have to give deference to others on the road to us, which is an issue of morality. Wow, Gabe, really? Yeah. Yeah. When somebody cuts you off on the road, who cares if everybody should live their truth? And their truth was, I deserve to go before you do. And what you should say, if you feel like everybody should live and let live, is, hey, bro, good job, dude. Hey, man, no problem. No problem. Hey, you want to take my car? No problem. Hey, you want to take my wife? No problem. Live and let live. Gabe, did you go there? Yeah. Do you understand? We're talking about moral relativism. We're saying that there should be no rules. We're saying, hey, just live and let live. Live your truth. Do life the way you want to do life. I don't want to judge you because I don't want to be judged. So I live in a community, but I don't want anyone in the community to have any impact on my life. I live in a society, but I don't even want the police to be able to do nothing to me. Yeah, I said it. I said it. As a black man living in the South. Yeah, I said it. I said it. If I want to speed, if I want to drive 75 miles an hour in a school zone, I should be able to do it because I'm just living my truth. I'm just living my truth. Hey, live and let live. There's no universal or absolute set of moral principles. Because what morals deals with, let me get down to it. Here's what morals deal with. Care and concern for others. If you really want to break morals all the way down to its brass tacks, if you want to get morality down to its foundation, the issue with morality is care and concern for others. So when you say everyone should live and let live and live your truth and do your thing and I'll do my thing, boo, what you're really saying is I don't give a squat about you. Fill in the blank. I don't give a script about you. Do your thing, I'll do my thing. Don't care about me, I don't care about you. Because that's essentially what moral relativism is ultimately saying, that we don't have to care because morality causes me to have to care. The reason why I don't treat people like trash is because I have morals. The reason why I think child molestation is wrong because I have morals, because I care about other people, because I care about children. Not just because I have one, but I care about children because I used to be one. because I care about women and men, I don't think they should be sexually harassed on their job. Because I care. Not because I'm better or because I'm worse, but because I was taught compassion. I was taught to put the interest of others at the very least equal to my own. Now that probably sounds familiar to some of you who classify yourself as Christian. But we're not going to get to that just yet. We got a little time. Is it making sense to you now? So Gabe, what if I do say stuff like that? What if I do say? It doesn't mean I don't have morals. It doesn't mean that I don't care. I don't like what you're saying, Gabe. I don't like that you're suggesting just because I don't want to be judging other people that I'm a moral relativist. I don't like that, Gabe. Okay, well, let's talk then. What is my basis? What is my basis for what I'm saying? The basis for what I'm saying, the reason why I'm saying you are a moral relativist is because your insistence on trying not to be judged, basically, but your insistence on trying not to have anybody push in on your life forces you, no matter how much you may think about caring about people, it forces you not to care. What? Did he say that out loud? Yeah. Think, let's work with me. Ready? So, a man and a woman are having an argument. Wherever you go, I don't even want to give a place. So you're out and about and you see a man and a woman having an argument. The man is 6'5", 250. The woman is 5'2". 100 pounds? 115 pounds? So she's 5'2", 115 pounds. He's 6'5", 6'4", 6'5", 250. See where I'm going? As the conversation progresses, he goes forward, he gets aggressive. He gets physical. He starts moving her around. Yeah. He starts threatening her. You can see the fear in her eyes. At this point, there you are encountering the situation, and you have an opportunity to make a decision. Live and let live. Po baby. I hope she gonna be all right. And walk on. Well, I hope he don't do nothing to her. Well, I don't know what's going on. I don't want to be a judge. I don't want to jump to conclusions. Here's what we know based on the scenario. I don't have to give no more points. We don't know who started it. We don't know how it's going to end. But what we do know is that a 6'5", 250-pound man is physically moving a 5'2", 115-pound woman. That's what we know. And we know that if that continues, that could prove to be extremely dangerous. Even for him, she might pull out a gun and blow his brains out. We don't know. But what we do know is that situation, in the little time we passed them, got aggressive. So as we have a chance to walk past or go down another aisle or turn down another street or go another way, and I love Christians, say a quick prayer. Oh God, amen. Or we have a cell phone sitting there, and we have a chance to watch for a few more seconds, maybe even walk up, drive by. Hey, don't mean to get in your business. Not trying to get in your business, but this looks pretty aggressive. Is everybody okay here? Now they may lie and say, oh, we all good. We're all good. Okay, well, I just want you to know that I'm an innocent bystander, and what you're doing is a public display of anger that in most cases, if I was a police officer, I would have to start talking about potentially this going a different way. So I just wanted to let you know, there's nothing I may be able to do, but I'm just here to say, I'm just letting you know what I see. I'm just letting, ma'am, are you okay? Well, why are you asking her? Sir, you 250. An easy 250, you what, 6'5"? She's about 5'1", 5'2", ma'am. Look, again, while I know you probably prefer I mind my own business, but I have to just tell you, I'm not really comfortable, sir, with you moving her around like that. I'm not comfortable. Well, wait a minute, Gabe. Hold on. Wait a minute, Gabe, because you talking about we need to get involved with people's situations. You know, maybe I just call the police, or I just record from a distance. Hey, but do something. But what do? Live your own truth. Hey, if he's aggressive, she need to get away from him. You know, I wouldn't let no man put his hands on me like that. Shoo. Telling yourself what you wouldn't let a man do doesn't help the situation. Now, for those of you who don't like that particular situation, how about the Good Samaritan? Oh, you didn't think I could do it? How about the Good Samaritan story told by Jesus? And all the religious people went on the other side. And the one who nobody thought would help is the one who stopped to help. And didn't just go and, hey, are you okay? And roll out, but actually stopped and spent his resources to help the man who got beat down. See, in a moral relativistic world, what did I just say a few minutes ago? As time goes on, you have to tell yourself not to care more and more. Gabe, I don't like you. I don't like you, Gabe, because you talking about me. No, I'm talking in general. I'm not talking about anybody specifically. I'm talking in general. But if you feel that thing coming up on you, then maybe you need to stop for a minute and let's all do some examination. Let's all do some examination. Look, I'm not saying every situation is tenable for us to run into, but at least give some thought to trying to offer the opportunity for help. If nothing else, stop and make yourself known. Honk a horn or clear your throat or get a little loud. Yeah, walk by, change up something. Do something that will stop the activity. Do something. Do something. But what do? Hey, domestic situations, they can get dangerous. Yeah, live and let live. What do you think moral relativism is? What do you think it is? Well, Gabe, you got to give me something else because that's not big enough. Okay, you're right. So, what do you think racism is? You wanted something bigger. What do you think racism is? Do you think everyone is a blatant racist? Do you think every person that is capable of being a racist, see how I did that, is blatant? Is all out there? No. History tells us that most racist people are racist on the basis of they see a brown or black person being mistreated and they go, well, that's just wrong. Jim Bob should be over there doing that. Am I going to step in? No. Because Jim Bob will get mad at me. And Jim Bob can get out of hand. Oh, I just hate that Jim Bob's in there doing that. Racism, misogyny, all of it starts with moral relativism. All of it starts with and is festered by and is encouraged by people who convince themselves that either, well, what did I tell you in the beginning? They can explain it away. They can tell themselves, well, maybe the person might even deserve it. I just don't know. Maybe that brown person was, because, some brown people, there's racism. Some black people, well, there's racism. But the moment you say that's racism, wait a minute, I'm not racist. I'm not racist. I've never hurt a black person. I've never hurt a brown person. I think everybody's beautiful. Some of my best friends are black. Some of my best, you don't know me. See, moral relativist, remember, don't judge me. You can't judge me. Ma'am, sir, I heard what you said. Yes, I can. Why? Because we are in a society. Because we are in a community. And what you say and what you do communicates something. You cannot escape trying to take the moral relativistic road as a racist, a bigot, and anything else. As a misogynist, you can't do it. You can't try to use moral relativism to escape the reality that you might be a bigot, that you might be a misogynistic pig, that you might be a racist, that you might be prejudiced, that you might have some tendencies, some way of speaking that in fact makes you exactly what that is by definition. But I didn't want to go to those things. I wanted to get down to the root. Because here again, let me give it to those who just got here. Moral relativism is the idea that there is no universal or absolute set of moral principles. It's a version of morality that advocates to each his or her own. And those who follow it say, who am I to judge? The reason why misogyny, number 45, the reason why racism, bigotry, molestation, rape, harassment, and many other immoralities that most of us would agree is immorality can continue to happen, can continue because there are so many of us who are on the sideline of our own lives, so many of us who are willing to take that road most traveled, which is I don't see it, I don't hear it, I don't speak it. It's easier for me, Gabe, to stay on the fringes. It's easier for me, Gabe, to stay out there and away from me speaking anything. Let me applaud right here. Side note, all my white brothers and sisters who joined the Black Lives Matter movement and didn't just use their mouths, but actually got out there and got shot with the rubber bullets and got hit with the tear gas and got talked about and dogged out. One even got killed by a white supremacist. She got hit with a car because she showed up to peacefully protest, and she was hit with a car. She lost her life standing with people who look like me. So let me make sure you understand, I'm not here to get into a conversation about racism. But she wasn't a moral relativist. Do you get my point? She put her body where her mouth and her thoughts were, and she showed up, and she didn't take the road to the side. She didn't see the man pushing and hitting on his wife and leave it alone. She spoke up, and because she spoke up, she got killed. She got killed because she joined people who look like me. Because she wouldn't sit by and let people who look like me continue to get shot and killed for no reason at all. She opened her mouth and it cost her life. Now, do you understand the gravity of when we are moral relativists? Do you know most people who are moral relativists are not blatant misogynistic pigs, are not blatant racists, are not blatant bigamists or whatever you want to. They're not blatant. They don't rob. They don't steal. They don't stand for any kind of mistreatment to children. They don't like any of that stuff. Moral relativists will tell you if you ask them, no, I don't like any of that, and then go vote for somebody who agrees with all of it. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I wasn't alive in 2016. And tell me 74 million people did not vote for someone who is openly said with his mouth that women don't mind if you grab them in their privates. 74 million people in the United States of America voted for a man who openly cheated on his wives, who paid off porn stars, whose morality is in the trash can, and I'm brokenhearted to have to even admit it was pastors. Some of which I respected. Oh, you want names? John MacArthur. You want names? Dr. James White. You want names? Peter Jackson. You want names? These are men I once respected. These are people I respected. People who I thought were men of morality. Who said things like, hey, a vote for Trump is a vote for Jesus. Who the Bible says that he was without sin. That Jesus died for the very things that Trump lives for. Jesus died to eradicate the very sins that Trump champions. Anybody heard of Epstein? Anybody ever hear Mr. 45 deny and stand against the selling of people's children that Mr. Epstein did? That Trump is seen, knowing very well, dancing at his parties? Now, I'm not going to make this about Donald Trump, but he is an obvious figure. He is an obvious figure. You can't do anything about it. The man was the president for 4 years. And what's disturbing to me is not Mr. Trump. I get him. I preach because of him. I preach because he exists. But the ones that I struggle with trying to reach is the moral relativist, is the ones who want to sit on the sideline, is the ones who want to say, Gabe, hey, live your own truth, man. You're judging him, but what about this one, Gabe? What about that one, Gabe? What about this one, Gabe? Oh, you're right. And if they're immoral, hey, I struggle with morality issues too. But I struggle with them. I don't give in just, hey, whatever. Do whatever. I at least hold to the idea that there is a moral standard. Even if I don't live up to it, it still exists. I still believe that there is a universal objective standard. Oh, you know where I'm going. I know you might not all be Christians, but stay with me. Now look, I'm admitting I don't always live up to the moral standard and code of the scripture, but at least there is one. At least there is one that I can judge myself by. But what about these? Which is why I'm so brokenhearted over the John MacArthurs, over over those who I used to turn to and listen to understand the scripture. And I'm not saying that their biblical exposition was wrong. I'm saying, what do I do? I'm not talking about they committed some individual sin. Again, if I say that, then I'm judging everybody, including myself. What I'm saying is, when the time came, they said, yeah, Mr. 45 is immoral, but hey, he's not a pastor. That's literally what John MacArthur said. I don't go to him as a pastor, I go to him as a politician. Well, he was a terrible politician. Because part of what politics is supposed to deal with is the question of morality. Part of the reason for laws is to address the issue of morality. Why? Because morality deals with care and concern, remember? Morality is an issue of compassion. The reason why we should not be men who just rub up on women that are not our wives is because there should be a concern. There should be a care. So you have to put laws in place that says, sir, if you do that, you're going to lose your job. And if we press criminal charges, you're going to go to jail and be publicly embarrassed. Don't tell me that morality does not speak to compassion. Don't tell me that morality is not a care, compassion, love issue. Now, we may not always express love properly, And we know, well, at least Christians should know, that there is a standard that we live by, and we judge everything, not just ourselves, but we judge everything in our society, including politicians. We judge everything in our society in accord to those moral codes. Otherwise, we would never minister to unbelievers. Uh-oh. Gabe, don't do it. I gotta do it. I gotta do it. Sorry, I gotta do it. The reality of it is, it's not just when somebody is doing something like abuse or things like that. What about when they're doing things that are harmful to themselves? Drinking excessively. They don't even know how to get home. Do we speak up? Do we have any morals that cause us? Do you see how I did that? Do we have any morals that cause us to care about anybody other than ourselves? Does our morals challenge us to speak up when we see even our friends are self-destructing? Now, my job, literally, my job, what I do for a living, is care for people, whether they care for themselves. It's kind of built into what I do. But even when I'm not doing the job in terms of at the location, I still have to answer the question, am I a moral relativist? Do I only care about morality and have compassion for others when I'm standing behind a pulpit? I check my own self. Or does it matter to me? Now, when I say care about somebody's morality, I'm not talking about finger pointing. Don't get me twisted with those people. I'm not talking about showing up and, ooh, y'all just excessively drinking and look at you. You ain't no good. You dirty low down. No, you ain't heard me say nothing. I said compassion. I said love. I said be there for one another. We love talking about my ride or die. We love talking about people who are there for me and down for me. But are they going to be down for you? Here it is. Watch this. You didn't see this coming. And be willing to tell you those kind of truths that you need to hear. But wait a minute. Truth means there has to be a universal standard. There can be no truth. Moral relativism even gets rid of truth. Do you understand how serious moral relativism is? Because if everything is just anything goes, well, then there is no truth. Now let me get down to it. I told you I was coming to it. That means there is no evil. Understand, if everything is good, then there is nothing that's evil. Think about it. Come on, come on. I know it's late, but think about it. A few more minutes. Stay with me. If everything is okay, if everything is expedient, if everything is all right, then we might as well stop using words like wrong and evil. That means child molestation, by definition, is an evil. That means the Me Too movement was really a waste of time. That means Black Lives Matter was a waste of time. That means who cares about racism? Hey, anything goes. It's all good. Come on, you had to see this coming, right? You had to understand that the depth of moral relativism says that really, technically, there's nothing that's actually bad. Technically, there's nothing in any community that's actually evil. Technically, why are we all crying about this, Gabe? Why are you wasting your breath? Hey, live and let live. Who are you to judge, Gabe? I'm going to answer that question in a minute. I'm going to tell you who I am. I'm going to tell you. I just want to let this sink in. I hit you with a lot of stuff in a short period of time. I want to let it sink in. I want to let it sink in. It's got to get in there. It's got to get, Gabe, but I still don't like you right now. I understand. You'll like me tomorrow. You'll like me tomorrow. I know you can't like me right now. I understand. I get it. You can't like me right now because I've just uncovered all kind of stuff that might be lurking in your heart. You just walk around with blinders on. I didn't even see. I didn't see that kid just kick his mama. I didn't see that. I know if he kicked me, boy, I'd do this, that, and the other. But I didn't see that. Hey, who am I? Because Gabe, if I say something to her about her child, she gonna get mad. You can't say nothing. And we so blasted sensitive. Now, when I grew up, things were a little tougher. You had them old mothers. Most of them are gone now. But you had them old men and women, they'll pull you aside. And they wasn't always gentle. I'm just going to be honest with you. They wasn't always gentle. And I'm not talking about Christians. I just mean older people in communities felt a responsibility to check people. Even though they also had morality issues themselves personally, they still felt a responsibility to the community. As a matter of fact, that's pretty much the grounds of every Tyler Perry movie, at least with Medea in it. Medea is immoral, and yet she feels some at least they keep putting the responsibility on her to speak to the things that are hurting the community. I know y'all missed it. If you haven't watched a Medea movie in a while, go back and watch them. What I literally just said to you is every single Tyler Perry Medea movie. She is immoral as a character. She carries some peace with her, right? Yet, they all turn to her to establish the standard of morality. Now, it's a funny thing to have her do it. I catch the irony. I get you. But the reality of it is, there has to be someone who establishes a universal standard of morality, because if you don't, you have anarchy. You have chaos. You have absolute chaos. Let me ask you a question. What has life been like in this country for the last 5 years, 4.5 years? If you're honest. Chaos. Chaos. We just had, in a week's time, 2 mass shootings. 2. Upwards of 16 people killed? January 6th, we had people storm the state capitol and felt like they were in the right. They felt like breaking the law was actually to support the law. That's moral relativism. Because they consider what they classify law to be the law, and what is law isn't the law. Several people lost their lives, including a police officer. Do you understand? Have I made my point clear? I hope I have. I'm doing my best. And again, this is just to get us thinking. This is just to get us thinking. What happened to care and concern for people? What happened? What happened? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if it went away in my lifetime, maybe before I was born, and it just got worse as time went on. I don't know if it was ever there. I don't know if we can say in a country where people were told that they were free, and yet you had property, people who were property. I don't know if you could say that this country was ever really devoid of moral relativism. I don't know if you could say it. As a matter of fact, we have the nerve to call this country's founders Christians who owned and misused slaves. You know why we can do that? Moral relativism. Moral relativism. That's how we do it. How do you think we can call George Washington a Christian and a slave owner? Moral relativism. How do you think we do it? How do you think we do it? Because we can explain. Do you understand how it works? If we can justify it to ourselves, if we can explain it to ourselves, then it has to be okay. You know, another thing that happens to moral relativists, and I got to get out of here, is isolation. What happens is you have to just deal with only people who don't challenge your moral relativistic disposition, right? So you have to find people, ironically, that have a shared common sense or a shared common truth. Because you can't really live 7.5 billion individual truths. You can't do it. Even if you say there's 4 billion children. Okay, so that still leaves almost 4 billion adults. And I'm telling you right now, I may have to do another broadcast on this, but I'm telling you right now, not everyone can live their own truth. I'm going to go ahead and get in a little bit more trouble. I might as well. I'm already in it anyway. You know, the fact is that when we say live your truth, we know, but we don't want to say it, that really the wealthy, those in power, they can live their truth. But let's be honest, you can't live your truth if you're poor. Hello? You can't live your truth in this country if you're black. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. You can't live your truth in this country, not in the fullest extent, if you're a woman, especially a black woman. Come on, tell me I'm wrong. Talk to me. I'm 47 years old. I'm not 10. I'm not 15. I'm not 20. I've been a grown man for nearly 30 years. 29 years. As of February 26th. I have lived long enough as an adult, longer than I was a child, to know for a fact that these groups, now we're seeing that Asian Americans can't live their own truth. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. If you're poor, you're not living your own truth in this country. I'm telling you right now, if you are black or brown, even if you're rich, you're not living your own truth. They told LeBron James, shut up and dribble. He's very nearly a billionaire. They told him shut up and dribble and painted racial slurs on his house. The only chance he has of living his truth, even though he's a darn near billionaire, is he has to do it despite people in society. You can't live your own truth if you ain't running it. Why do you think everybody talking about I'm a boss? Why do you think everybody talking about being kings and queens? Do you really want to know the psychological? Oh, I could go off on that for 20 minutes. Do you really want to understand why everybody talking about don't work for the man? Do you really want to understand why they talking about have your own? And do you realize in this country, even if you have your own business, your business can still be taken away from you? If you don't believe me, ask the small businesses that went out of business in 2020 because they were told they were not essential. Woo! I'm preaching now. Own businesses. And they were told by the government they were not essential, and they lost their businesses. But wait a minute, I thought it was about being a business owner. Because if you're your own boss, nobody can tell you what to do. But the government said for health reasons, you don't count. You don't matter. And we have the right in a pandemic to tell you you don't count. You don't matter. And they lost their businesses. Yeah. Yeah. And in most communities, brown people can't live their own truth either. Can't do it. Can't do it. I don't care if they own a business. Now you got cancel culture. Oh, see, y'all don't want me to do it. Now you got cancel culture. The true cancel culture, not this nonsense. So if I don't want you to live your truth, because I don't believe in your truth, if I get just the right number of people who have the power and the clout, I can destroy your life. My morals say you shouldn't be successful. My morals say you shouldn't have a successful marriage. My morals say you shouldn't have a successful business. My morals say your children can't go to a high-profile school. My morals say that because of your skin tone, or because of your gender, or because you call yourself a Christian, or because you call yourself a Muslim, or whatever the case may be, you don't have a right. And so, though you want to live your truth, you can't live your truth. And I'm not even advocating for that. All I'm trying to show you is the real truth. The real truth is that no one can really live their truth. Not really, unless you exceed what is true. And no one exceeds what is true, even though they can convince themselves. So my point is, what you do is, if you're Epstein, is you get a bunch of rich people around you so that you can explain why it's okay to sell people's daughters. Why it's okay to sell people in America into slavery. Why it's okay as a white man to sell people. You can explain to yourself why it's okay with these voter rights to take away, let's be honest, brown and black people's ability to access votes. Knowing many of us live in rural communities. We live in urban locations, and we may not be able to get to those booths. We may not be able to get there and stand outside for 9, 10, 11 hours. And if you have the legislation, you have the knowledge, you have the clout, you have the constituency, you have the finances, you can keep somebody that looks like me from voting. And say, well, you didn't vote, so you can't stop us from passing the legislation that decides what you have to live up to morally. I'm just saying. I know this is not an easy subject. I wish I could be telling more jokes and be lighter tonight, but I can't. I need us to understand that under every bit of this is moral relativism. That what's undergirding all of this is, I call morality whatever I call it, you call it whatever you call it, and live and let live. And if I just so happen to have more money than you, if I just so happen to have, I'm more popular than you are, if I just so happen to be able to do, trust me, I could have dealt with what was just done at the award show by two ladies. I'm not going to even get into it. I could talk about what they did on that stage. Now, I didn't watch it, but I heard enough about it. This is where we've come. That now you have practically pornographic stuff being done on primetime TV, and it ain't really new. It ain't new. The first things I saw pornographically was on TV. On Fox, ironically. So it really ain't new. But they did that on a show that's supposed to be for family viewing. I watched a movie that was not for family viewing. I watched a movie that was called Rated R. But that was on family viewing, those two ladies who were engaging each other. Moral relativism. Money. It's a money's game in many cases. It's a money's game. It's a money's game. It's a power game. And if you don't have the money and you don't have the power, you can't live your truth. So then we should have a universal truth. Now, I told you this and I'm done. Word about you, Gabe. You know where I stand. It's pretty obvious. As a person who is a Christian, I stand before the judge. I stand before the Creator. I stand before the owner of all. The earth is the Lord's, the fullness thereof, the world and them that dwell therein. Now, I know not everybody does. And when you hear me say that, I'm not saying that I don't struggle with moral issues. What I'm saying is, when I struggle with my moral issues, I know there is a standard that I get judged by. See the difference? Moral relativism says there is no standard. Do you understand the real issue here? It is not whether or not we all struggle with moral questions. whether or not we struggle with our own issues of morality. In other words, we don't always do it right. But at least because of the Bible, we can use the words like right, good, evil, wrong. Because I am a Christian, I can legitimately use words like evil. Because I am a Christian, I can legitimately use words like wrong. And yes, those words apply to me just like it does everyone else who is a believer. But for those who are non-believers, they can't use words like right and wrong if they're honest, or they may use them, but that's just them talking about their view of what is right and wrong. I don't mean any disrespect, but let's be honest. Have you ever looked at evolution? Have you looked at Darwin's theory of evolution? Natural selection, only the strong survive? Where's the morality in that? Where's the morality in that? And let's be honest on what we mean by strong. We mean only the strong survive. That's what we mean. Only the economically affluent survive. Only the ones whose daddies is the head of the company. Only the ones whose mom is on the board. Only the ones whose best friends can hire them. Those are the strong that survive. Those are the ones who make it through. It ain't necessarily just the strong. No, it is the ones who've got the power, the clout, the backing. Those are the ones who survive. That's why moral relativism is a decaying factor in any society, and especially in these United States. If you don't believe me and you're over 35, I would ask you, where have you been? That's what I would ask you. Where have you been that you don't realize what I'm saying is the truth? Where have you been? Has your head been buried in the sand? Where have you been? Why do we have stricter and stricter rules about molestations and all those things? Because people are still living their truth. And notice, Cuomo, some of the accusations against Governor Cuomo of New York, I want you to notice, if you've watched the timeline, those things he's done since the Me Too movement. Let that register, and I'm done. Governor Cuomo is being accused of sexually explicit, inappropriate touching and other things, and that has been since the Me Too movement. By the way, do some cursory research on who his dad is. Do some cursory research on where he comes from. Do some cursory research, and you might not find it strange that Mr. Cuomo thinks that he can accost women, that he can touch women inappropriately. He can make gestures to women because he's governor. See? Because he's in a power position. And they're calling for his resignation. And notice, he's living his truth. He's not going to resign because he's living his truth. What's his truth? I got the power. Ladies, I got the power. Gentlemen, come take it. Come take it. Come take it. Sorry. Tell me I'm wrong. Nobody's talking to me tonight. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me that the reason why 45 has 74 million votes is because the truth of the matter is this and power dictate what is morality. You feel it in your house when your child gets to a certain age and they start speaking up, and you start reminding them that you're the parent. You start reminding them, I say what I say and you do what I say. Come on, we all feel it. We all feel that surge of power. Have you ever, now don't answer this, but just think for a minute. Have you ever, parents, caught yourself going too far? Have you ever found yourself going too far in your statement of power to your children? Especially your adult children? Have you ever found yourself just about ready to say that you have the power to completely destroy their lives? Did you find yourself almost putting yourself in a God place? Did you find yourself there? I've been there. Suggesting that because you are the dad or the mom or the stepdad or the stepmom or the guardian, that person's life belongs to you and you can destroy their life. Oh, you might not use the word destruction, but some of the things you say, like, I'll take you out of my will, I'll cut you off, and if you try to go to grandma, I'll cut you off from her too. And if you try to call your aunts and your uncles and your sisters and your brothers, I'll tell them to cut you out too. You know why? Because moral relativism. How, Gabe? Because I got the power. I got the clout. I own you, buddy. I own you, little girl. I dictate. I dictate, dictator. Moral relativists. Dictators are moral relativists. It's whatever they say goes. In my house, whatever I say goes. You know how dangerous that is? I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to leave it alone. I want to touch it, but I'm going to leave it alone. Trust me. Anything goes. Whatever I say goes is dangerous. Listen to me, parents. Even with grown children. When you start declaring whatever I say, period, goes, and you are assuming that you are a moral, upstanding person, you are assuming that you don't have morality issues, you are playing in a dangerous, dangerous place. And you might find you have to apologize. Maybe not to your children, but if you so happen to be a Christian, Gabe, I don't believe you. Last one. Fathers, provoke not your children to wrath. Ephesians chapter 6. That's immoral, and that command comes from God. We are not all powerful parents, even of grown children. We don't have the right to suggest, let alone try to carry out the destruction of our children and our grandchildren's lives. Employers who believe that if you don't do what I tell you on this job, I'll make sure you never work in this town again. You are playing God. And you are stepping onto a territory that you might want to check your morality compass, because you are stepping into a place that only one has a right to stand. God. I'm done. There's always more to say, but share this out. Get this to as many people as you can. If you're feeling uncomfortable, you touched some stuff there that made me my stomach queasy. I feel you. Trust me, I think about this stuff before I get on here, and I get it. I get it. But I'd rather lay it out. I'd rather give it to you so that you can do something with it. I'd rather say here, and then trust that you are mature enough, men and women, whether you're a Christian or not, that you can work through it. If you feel like you're struggling, contact me. Let's talk about it. Let's work through it together. I have compassion. I care about you. I've told you guys before, I care about you. I love you. And I know, well, Gabe, what if I did that? What if I did what you just said? What if I did that to my children? What if I do it now? What if I do that on my job? What if I'm a boss and I have caught myself saying stuff like that? Well, let's talk about it. Let's talk. And let me help you the best I can to work through those things. Thank God for helping me to work through those things. I've been there. I'm not confessing anything about anybody. I'm talking about me. I'm talking about me. So I know what it is to think I determine the morals. Therefore, I got permission to act foolishly and not care, and not with care and concern. All right, that's it. I'm done. Have a great night. Till next week.